And we made it. Jimmy comes in looking. I know. So I'm on a podcast. That's my fun.
I love it. Welcome to the GameDay Huddle. Toy Expert Steve, Fantasy Expert Jay is in the building. Warehouse Boys Dave.
Yeah.
Dave wears so many hats. Like I want to give him like 1,000 different names.
He used to be Dynasty Dave on our Triple
He
podcast.
seemed
No, we
like
used to do the IDP.
Yeah.
That was fun.
IDP.
Nobody had any clue what I was talking about.
Don't have a graphic for it, but we do have breaking news. Cade Cunningham out for the season with the Detroit Pistons. For the hobby, that's a big deal. He was a big support piece in the 21-22 product.
Yep.
He was kind of the big chase. Jalen Green wasn't far behind, and then you've got the product's still loaded, but it is definitely going to ding it a little bit.
Kind of like you saw with Zion when he started first getting hurt, but now Zion's back and he's playing well, so it's like
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be back. It just takes a little bit of a hit, but it'll be back.
Well, it does, and we are definitely going to talk a little bit of Zion today. But yeah, Cade Cunningham out, so guys, just kind of keep note of that. However, it's time for Over Under, where we talk about where we're over. This week, and it was an interesting week. It was a very interesting week, and I want to start with the news from the NFL today, which is Cowboys did not sign Odell Beckham. They went and signed
The next best
T.Y.
thing.
Hilton.
Yeah, the next best thing.
T.Y. Hilton
He was
is
number
now,
2 on my list, right behind Odell Beckham.
He's got 2 good knees. That's all we need.
Yeah,
2 good
third
knees.
was Larry Fitzgerald.
he has 2 good knees.
Ooh, Fitzgerald would have been nice, actually.
Right.
I'd have took Fitzgerald.
Right.
Who has 2 good knees? T.Y. Hilton? I think different. Is that what you just said?
I was a joke.
I was waiting for you to He's so good.
I
We
didn't
have him in
catch that
Dynasty.
either. Yeah, I was
We have him
like,
in
what?
Dynasty. He's always... He's like, oh, Hilton's got a little... He's doubtful again. Shocking.
Yeah.
Right. Well, he comes in. He's supposedly a guy that the last time he played last season, I think he had like 300-something yards. I think he had 23 receptions.
For the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was injured for most of that season. So when he came back in the games he played in, he was still averaging 11 yards, 12 yards a carry or a catch. So
Well, I didn't think we were going to the Super Bowl, but now I think we are now.
Because of T.Y.
Because of that signing, yeah.
yeah, that one
just pushes us right over the edge.
Just depth.
Well, this late
What do
in
you
the
want him to
year,
sign? Do you want him to get Odell? You really wanted him to?
I would rather get Odell.
Spend
Beckham.
all that money, and next year have to pay all
That's
that?
all we do is spend money. We just paid.
There
Zeke.
is a cap.
But I tell you what, did you see who was hanging out at the Cowboys game on Sunday? Before the game and after? Bijan Robinson. He was kicking it with Zeke Elliott.
We don't need a running back.
What are you talking about? We don't need a running back.
What do you mean we don't need a running back?
Yes, we do.
How? We have 2.
We have to get Zeke off the books.
He's not going anywhere for a while.
Hey, you get Zeke off the books and you draft Bijan Robinson in the first round, and now you have a running back on a rookie contract.
Is that what you wish would happen?
Yes.
Well, wish in one hand, shit in the other. See which one fills up first. Because it ain't happening.
so
You're just keep being unrealistic as a Cowboys fan.
I'm not unrealistic. I don't. What does that have to do with it?
let's talk about realistic for yesterday. You guys got a little bit of your eyes opened yesterday because you got a handful from the Texans. Texans came out. Offense moved the ball on you guys pretty good. Davis Mills came back in and played after being on the bench for a couple of weeks and threw the ball down the field. He looked decent. I don't think he's great, but again, he's playing with a makeshift offensive line and some pieces there that
you were going against a top defense. You've seen what the Cowboys have been doing the last few weeks, and so you had to mix it up a little bit. And I thought what they did was kind of smart. Like, obviously, the Cowboys didn't game plan for a 2-quarterback interchangeable in and out type deal, and like Dave said off air, it didn't take us like to the 4th quarter to realize that when Driscoll was in, they were going to be running the ball with either him or Dameon Pierce. So it took you a little while to get. You're not used to it. You didn't game plan for that, And so Kyle Allen sits right basically the entire game. He didn't come in at all, and you run with Davis Mills and Jeff Driscoll, and I thought that it worked. It was cute. It's like a gadget play. It's kind of like when people start using the Wildcat. Like, it works for a little while, and then defensive coordinators figure it out and they stop doing it.
And that's and that happens. This is one of those games. This kind of you guys won the game, which
could have been worse.
Right? But it was a little bit of like a trap game. Here's where it is either going to weigh well for the Cowboys or not. If the Cowboys carry this into the next few games, of they let this team in and they let that kind of fight against them, right? Then I think you're going to have where you might have some issues that you're looking at because guys are a little short-tempered or whatever it might be. Or they bury it completely, don't even touch it. In fact, I'll be honest with you, if I was coaching the team, I don't even watch film this week. I don't even watch film.
We have a lot of defensive injuries to worry about right now. I don't think they want to go back and watch the Texans film. It's
well, that's exactly it, is that I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You make one mistake and the game's over. Turpin dropped the punt, and all of a sudden it changed the whole game.
The whole momentum.
Exactly.
The whole thing changed.
Yeah.
That's how fast it could happen, because any given Sunday.
Well, and that's, the thing is that it is the NFL, and we've learned, especially this year, I think more than any team can show up at any day and put it together, and they're a really good unit if they do. And so, you never know what you'll find. We've had, as a Chargers fan, we've had this back and forth roller coaster year. Again, we've had a bunch of injuries, offensive line, wide receivers, skill position players.
All your receivers.
Finally got our receivers healthy.
All of them.
But we got our line still kind of.
They did good against the blitz, though, at the beginning. They actually stopped blitzing. The Chargers, the first couple of drives, Chargers were moving. I mean, he just loves to go for it. That guy will never take 3 points.
Yeah, but
3 feels like a defeat. He's like, I ain't giving
he
him.
knows his offensive line isn't that good, and they kept using rollouts. Everything
They did a great game plan.
Yeah, and bootlegging and everything. Here's one of the plays that talking about the bootleg that really stood out last night.
Late switch by Herbert. Out of the pocket, 2 receivers this side. Williams, deep down, touchdown. Mike Williams.
So Mike Williams back on the field.
Kudos to him for not getting hurt on that play, because a lot of things could have got hurt, like his toe, his heel when he came down hard, the hamstring. He could have hurt a lot of different things. So kudos to him for staying healthy on that catch.
He being back on the field and being able to play the entire game obviously was a big part of what they do. Great throw by Herbert there. He throws it right in the middle of four
Dolphins
They had no idea where it was going because they're worried about him, bootlegging out.
Right.
The Chargers did that all the night and they moved it around. I hope that what the Chargers did was they realized that these are the type of things they're going to have to do the rest of the season to be able to try to move the ball up and down the field.
And they jumped to the 7th spot with that win, didn't they? They took over the Jets for the 7th seed.
Yeah, and that's because the Jets went out and didn't quite get it done.
Yeah, right now they're in the wild card
against the Bills.
They played okay.
They did while Mike White was in there.
Yeah.
But as soon as, and I guess, we don't see practice, right? As soon as you had Mike White not in there.
I don't get it. He's not the answer.
He may not be the answer, but for that offense, he's been the accuracy.
But you know what I thought was funny? Okay, here's what's funny is they put up a stat the other day during that game, and I thought this was kind of funny because, obviously Mike White, the offense is taking off, right? And there's he's throwing for 300 yards. You have 2 guys getting 100 yards receiving. The running backs are playing well. When Zach Wilson was in there and everyone was bashing the hell out of him, and he was supposedly not playing well, they were 5-2 under Zach Wilson. They were 0-1 under Flacco or something like that, or 1-1 under Flacco, and then they're another 1-2 under Mike White. So you had these guys out here that were scoring more points and they had better stats, but they were losing games. Zach Wilson was playing like hot garbage, and his team was 5-2. So what justifies the quarterback switch if you're the head coach? Are they on your fantasy team? What does it matter how many points they have?
I don't know that answer except for the fact that maybe he just and again I didn't watch the whole game yesterday. Zach Wilson didn't even dress, did he?
No, Joe Flacco was the backup.
So he didn't even dress for the game.
Worse, yeah.
Right.
So that tells me that there's a bigger issue there than just what we're seeing on the field.
Yeah, he's not even the backup currently. He's the number 3 guy, and that's what's worrisome because Mike White got hurt in the game. I don't know. Did he come back? Did he?
He came back twice.
Did he come back the second time? Because I know he came back the first.
I think he
time.
came back twice.
They say he's day-to-day right now. He's listed day-to-day.
So they'll probably start again next week. But my point is that you're in the middle of a playoff race where you could actually make the playoffs for the first time in God knows how long. But you're more worried about the guy throwing for 300 yards and the offense moving. Obviously, you want to keep the players happy, and all the receivers are happy, and the running backs are happy, and the team is, looking on the up and up. But like Zach Wilson was 5-2, and everyone's trashing him. He was 5-2 this year as a starter.
You make one comment, and it's a
Well,
pretty bad comment.
I think the 5-2 thing. I don't know that record is necessarily predicated for him though, because they're looking at purely at his performance.
I agree.
Not the team's performance. They were looking at his performance.
But if you had a guy that was winning every game, but he looked like really sketchy, but you were winning.
Broncos went to the playoffs with Tim Tebow and then released him the next year.
Right. Because they didn't win the Super Bowl.
Cowboys roll out
off-season.
Dak Prescott every year.
They do.
Coming from somebody that plays Daniel Jones. Good game against the Eagles yesterday, too. You really hung in there for a couple seconds.
You guys almost lost to the Texans.
Almost lost or lost?
Oh my God, I knew that was going to come.
No,
They
but
got bailed out by the refs again, and they
So the Eagles can lose, beat the Colts by 1, and it's okay. Dallas beats the Texans, and it's a
Here
bad
we go.
thing.
No, it's not even
These
that
Dallas
bad.
Cowboys
Oh,
are the absolute
How
best.
am I the worst?
They're the
How am I the
absolute best. Like the whole time, they're like, "Oh, talking trash." The
Nobody
whole
was
time.
talking trash about anything.
Wow.
Like I don't know who you were around. What Cowboys?
Do I need to
Not
pull
me.
up our group chat between this and he's bashing me about my Giants getting smoked by the Eagles? I'm like, have you not turned on the Cowboys game yet? You're down.
I didn't say anything.
You're down 7 points to the Texans.
I
I will say. I will
17
say
point
something
favorite.
I
very
didn't say
quickly.
anything. Why you?
And
not
that
me.
was the Eagles' offense made your defense look pedestrian.
They make every defense. They put
No,
up 50 against everybody.
Yesterday,
Who don't they put up 50
it was
against?
unreal. Like it was literally whatever.
The
Every
Bolts.
time they threw the ball, it was 25 yards.
They put up
It was-
Dallas?
that
put
Eagles.
up 50 against
That
Dallas.
Eagles offense puts up points on every
does.
single
It
person.
does.
50
It's getting better though.
Pretty
It's
damn
getting
close.
Or 30.
Well, you know, and that.
It
You still
doesn't
think
matter.
Mahomes
That's
is the
3
MVP now?
Well, no,
I
and
don't
see
know.
that's sparking the debate right now.
Yeah.
So they put out the odds, the current odds,
Yeah,
you
Jalen
go.
Hurts
from the
is
Caesar
shot up
Sportsbook.
MVP.
Jalen Hurts minus 110, Patrick Mahomes plus 160.
How does he lose though?
It's almost
Explain to
even
me
money.
how Jalen Hurts loses the MVP.
Because they're playing nothing at the end. The only one game they have is against Dallas.
There's
That's
no
not-
possible. That's
and that's
probably
not even
the
that.
easiest bet in the history of betting. He is not losing.
He has
this
been
year.
unreal this year.
If they
played-
finish the
He
season
scored
with
another one on the ground.
with
right?
one loss going into the last
Right.
2 weeks, if they finish with one loss going into the last 2 weeks, then they'll bench him because they won't play him. They might play him like a few series. There's zero chance
They
he loses the
play.
MVP.
They play the Bears next, then they play Dallas, then they play the Saints, who are terrible, and then they play the Giants again,
Yeah.
Week 18.
all
so
terrible.
that's all four. They can win all four. But they probably won't play the last game against the
I
Giants.
think the last
They'll
two
probably
games.
sit.
I think the last 2 games they don't play.
The only
without
way they
Jalen
have to
Hurts.
lose it, they have to lose to the Bears, then they have to lose to Dallas. Then Dallas has a chance to win the division, and that's it. And I don't even think that happens.
Yeah, and at this point, it's definitely the 2-horse race for MVP, and even at that, I believe that Jalen Hurts is probably a couple lengths ahead of
No, yeah.
Patrick Mahomes. And
I think
unless for some reason over the next 3 weeks, Jalen Hurts plays poorly and Mahomes has all these monster games, that might sway the voters' mind. But even
Allen's
at that,
out? Allen's out just automatically.
Well-
Like, what if Allen throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns the next 3
I
games?
think
in a row?
Josh
that-
Allen been throwing a lot of interceptions inside
Yeah.
the 20.
In the
People
red
are seeing
zone,
it in the red zone.
yeah, and I think that that's been his problem is that he has been up and
Josh
down
Allen has zero
inconsistently.
chance to win it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Not
don't.
this year.
I would
Yeah.
say those
Just-
two are way ahead of Josh Allen.
Which is what's
Unless
crazy.
something crazy
We
happens.
started the year thinking that Josh Allen was the favorite,
Yeah.
and he was. That's how he was in the books, but definitely was
a
up
long
there.
season.
And then you've got a few more guys that have definitely worked themselves out of it. Tua's inaccuracy the last couple of weeks has definitely shown. It showcased big time last night. It showcased last week, so that immediately took him out of it. Plus.
But they vote on the MVP for the regular season before the playoffs start.
Correct.
Yes.
So that's what's going to save Jalen Hurts is
Yeah.
they
Unless
vote on
they
it
have
before
big
the playoffs start. Because everybody, as soon as you lose in the playoffs, everybody wants to write you off, and they'll write Jalen Hurts off super quick as soon as he.
Right.
And we all know the Eagles choke. They're going to choke this playoffs
Well,
to the Cowboys.
We won't play.
so
until-
here.
Cowboys won't even get to that.
They're
Guaranteed.
going to get a bye.
Guaranteed
We're
the
gonna-
Cowboys.
Well, we're going to have a
6 and 9
We're gonna have a
Tampa Bay
road,
Buccaneers
yeah,
in
on the
Tampa
road.
and
Well, so
lose.
all right. So talk about the
Nonsense.
East. We know, it's kind of laying itself out there now. Eagles division to lose. Cowboys look like they're going to hold up second place. Giants, I think, as you've talked most of the season, there was probably a little pretend in the beginning of the season more than there was contend.
Maybe they'll tie the Redskins again. next week.
Maybe. They might back-to-back. Well,
Exciting 2020 game.
they did take Carson Wentz off the injured reserve this
They
week.
flexed me. I was trying not to laugh.
They flexed
I don't
him,
like
too.
to give him any juice.
I
Like
know.
I was trying not to laugh.
They're
That's
flexing that
pretty
game
funny.
too, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
flexed it
They
to the
flexed
second.
it.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll tie 10-10 now.
Yeah. So
It's the same line.
I know.
They flexed it to Heineke and Daniel Jones. Like, what the hell is this world coming to? That's
Well,
the game we want to watch?
Right, and Carson Wentz is back, but he was told that he's not the starter. So Carson Wentz is back.
Huge
Looking at the rest of the
He will be
schedule,
the
there ain't
backup
really much
for Taylor
else.
Heineke now.
It's really bad.
That's not a shocker.
Week
It's not.
15 is really bad for matchups. Jeez.
So the other division that we've got to talk about in the
Bills,
NFC,
Dolphins,
I think
that's
that is a discussion point, is the North, right?
Mm-hmm.
Vikings went out, did not play a very good game.
That was a trap bet of the century, by the way. Like, you had to have taken the Detroit Lions. They were basically
Minus
begging you.
2.5.
They were begging you. Every just
can tell
regular
by the
person
line.
off the street that is not a big time gambler
Yeah.
was gonna lay their money on Minnesota getting points. They look at it like, oh my gosh, 10-3. Like, how do I not bet the Minnesota Vikings? Like, how do I not bet this? And you turn around and they got spanked by the Detroit Lions. The Lions being favored in a game is something you just don't see very often. So
They're
people are
good.
like, give me Minnesota. Give me Minnesota. I bet you they clean house on that. I bet
Well,
you
The
they
Lions
clean
are
house on that.
good. They're not a bad team.
No,
Look what they're doing this year.
They
They're
are
a good team.
super young, and what they've done is the offense was ahead of the defense. The defense is starting to catch up,
Yeah.
and the defense has some savvy veterans on it for those young kids that has really like been in their ears, and they're making plays. They're scheming it pretty well. Like overall, they're getting a lot of effort out of the young guys in their defensive side of the ball, making plays when they need to make plays.
Hutchinson,
they're not
he's
making
a
plays
superstar.
all the time. Yeah,
Kid's
and
a superstar.
And Goff has been
Absolutely.
killing it at home. He's been killing it when he's at home. Averaging like 3 touchdowns a game at home, and he's averaging over 250 yards passing too. So he's the guy that I'm taking all the time, like in FanDuel, when he's at home, because he's giving
Right.
you 20 to 25 points and he's not making a bunch of mistakes. Like, it's a little different on the road. He's not perfect. It's comes a little bit down, but man, he's playing lights out.
Oh, they got
Right.
a good offensive line, 2 good running backs when they're healthy.
Well,
They
they've
just got
been
Jameson
drafting
Williams back.
towards the top.
Yeah.
For,
They traded T.J. Hawkinson. They're going to give it,
TJ
and they're
Yeah.
still in it.
Okay.
Well, and speaking of Jameson Williams, I mean, let's talk about him for just a second. Dude gets on the field and literally gets on the field and is no different than when he left.
He's wide open.
Like,
Jesus.
no different than when he's open because he's good.
But did the defender fall down because he was over like 15 yards?
I don't know if they fell down.
No,
They
he
blown
turned him
coverage and
backwards.
just
Yeah,
turned
he
him-
spun him
yeah,
around.
Oh, he spun him.
Yeah.
He just
Like
went-
a top. He was running right at the guy and gave him like a little, like he's going to the fade.
Yeah.
So the guy flips his hips, and and the guy was like, huh! He had no chance to catch him.
Yeah, and
Zero chance.
He looked every bit of what you expected. I think it was pretty safe to say that everybody going into the draft last year, before he got hurt in the bowl game,
He was the number one.
he was
guy.
the number one wide receiver, and they took the gamble on him. And he showed them yesterday that their gamble was spot on.
And they're bringing it back slowly too. Like the first game, he had like 3 snaps only that he played, and you didn't hear anything. He only had 1 catch yesterday. It was a 41-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
So he only had 1 catch. So they're not like bringing him back and be like, okay, man, you're back. Let's go back to full duty.
Yeah, here's 70 snaps. Go
Yeah,
get him.
it's they're being careful with them because
They don't
they
need
can
to.
because they have Amon Ra and they have DJ Chark who's playing well. So
Sharks playing really good.
So they have the 2 guys, so they can bring Jameson and Williams along
Right.
slowly, and that's a team that no one's going to want to play if they end up making the playoffs.
No,
Well, and
you
that's
don't want to see
But
that
Minnesota's
And that's
going to
the
win the
question.
division because they're so
They should-
far ahead.
They got a chance, a
But
really good chance
Minnesota's,
to make
they're
it.
Minnesota's
getting in.
pretenders. Detroit has a terrible schedule
The
the rest
Lions
of the
in
way.
right now. Yeah, they play
Detroit's
the.
a terrible schedule the rest of the way. It's easy, like super easy, I'm saying.
Yeah, they play the Bears, Vikings,
Jets,
and
some other crappy team.
The Lions are getting in, and they're
Packers.
going
so.
Packers
and you
in
don't
week 18.
you don't want to play them in the playoffs.
No,
No.
because they're so high firepower too,
Yeah.
and
But
they're
I
Panthers.
don't-
Panthers.
Panthers.
And they've
But
got-
I don't know who they're gonna leapfrog because I still think that Giants and the Commanders are playing well enough to where both teams could make it.
Yeah,
unless
but you
they
got to
get
remember,
screwing each other
Giants and
with the
Commanders have
inflation.
to play each other, And then both those teams have played the
they-
Eagles.
And they tied.
So-
So they actually tie. I don't know if that's
So
good
one
or
of those
bad.
teams,
But for
one
the
of those
Giants, they
teams could
play
be
them.
3 losses down.
But they played the Eagles last game of the year.
yeah.
And
And
we
the
all
Eagles will
know
be sitting Hurts.
Jalen Hurts was
They
none of
might
those.
sit their guys.
AJ Brown, all the
Yeah.
stars will not play that
Well,
game.
the Lions do have 3 road games out of the next 4, so
Right.
that might.
And that
And
might
Minnesota's not
affect
going to lose the next 4 games in a row either. So like Minnesota's going to win that division. Detroit has a very slim chance of making the playoffs.
I just don't see
wild
4
card.
teams from the East. It'd be crazy. It could happen. I just don't see.
It's
'Cause they're
just
going to beat up on
the
each
way
other.
things shake out. It could.
So in the South, Brady was pretty mad yesterday. Apparently, he had some comments after the game, and Brady did something that is very uncharacteristic of him. He went into the locker and grabbed his stuff and left. Didn't shower. Went straight to the airport. Didn't shower. Took a flight home. Didn't shower. And when asked about
Does he not fly with the team?
why he was leaving, he flew with the team.
Wow.
He didn't shower before he left. He literally, and then when the media was asking why he left, he used a profanity-laced tirade and said, "I'm going home." I don't know that I recall ever hearing this type of action out of Brady. And again, we're watching this roller coaster of his life and all this stuff and everything. But this is the team that's leading the South, right?
Yeah, but
It's a
that's
disaster.
that's why you can't take into account like what's going on in his personal life. It's clearly affecting him more than anybody thinks it was.
Yeah.
We talked about it at the beginning of the season, and I didn't think Tampa was going to make the playoffs, but I didn't realize that all the other teams are going to be that bad in that division that they're going to win by default. Like, they're literally going to win with
Right.
a losing record. And obviously the stuff going on at home is bothering him. It's clearly bothering him, even me saying it's not, and I know that age is catching up a little bit, but you can't blame it on not having the weapons, because you have Chris Godwin, who's healthy now. You have Leonard Fournette, who's, even if he's at 75%, Rashad White's playing well. You have Mike Evans. Cade Otton has stepped up as a tight end spot and played really well. So you can't say, well, he doesn't have the weapons. I get it. His offensive line is not very good, and they got a lot of injuries to it. But you're Tom Brady.
Their problem
You make the
is-
adjustments. You get rid of the ball quicker. You run more slants. You make the.
In the past, Brady has had those offenses when he's had a problem with his offensive line, where he's had a running back that can come in and block.
Mm-hmm.
And these running backs are not picking up blocks at all.
I mean,
They're not picking them up. They might try.
Fournette is not that bad of a blocking.
He had
back.
a crushing block
Yes.
yesterday.
Yes.
One block that was like,
Fournette's
"Ooh,
not that bad. I know
threw
he's
the ball a
not
ton.
100%,
They
But
were
he's
down the
not.
whole game.
He's
They had no
not
chance.
in the game.
He's lost his connection
Right.
with Mike Evans. Is what he's lost.
Did you see the 4th down play
Yes.
when he threw it? It was supposed to be a back shoulder. Mike Evans
Oh, it
was
was like
wide
his
open
feet,
in the end zone,
right?
Yeah.
and he hits him literally in his
Ankle.
Achilles.
Yeah.
And Evans looks back at him like,
What the heck?
He's
"What
lost,
the hell kind of throw is it?" Like,
He's lost his connection with
Yes.
Evans, and he had it at the beginning of the year, but I don't know what happened. They're clearly not on the same page.
that showed me everything I need to know about that team.
But
When
before
the-
that play, though, when they got a pass interference on Godwin, they didn't call it. He went nuts. I've never seen him get. I've seen him get angry, like you were saying, but you could tell, like with the, he was yelling at anybody who was wearing a black and white shirt.
he's
yelling
over
at
frustrated.
Everybody.
He's frustrated.
And it's like who
Yeah.
else can get away with that
Well,
besides Tom Brady? Like,
No
And
way.
what we saw this last week, and this is why I'm getting to this point, was we joked about it last week. The AJ, Brown puts out that Antonio Brown puts out that
picture.
photo of Giselle, or
The
it's
Photoshop.
speculated that
no, that one wasn't
right, it's
Yeah.
speculated, whatever. But just that type stuff, right? Getting in there, and then I got to kind of breaking it down and thinking about it, and you know what? I wonder if it actually did happen where she did cheat with him while they were in his
What a
house.
movie.
And it was the week
Watch
that
that
they
movie.
played the Jets when there was the meltdown by Antonio Brown on the sideline, because in that game he had 0 targets from Brady through 3 quarters. And that
Is that where he took a shot? He was running through the end zone?
Yeah, he was open,
That's
and they
psycho.
wouldn't throw him the ball, and Brady was kind of off the side, kind of smirking about it
So you
a
think
little
that
bit.
Brady found out before that game?
I think he found out before that game. I think that's why, and Brady did, and then they found
feel
out
like I'm on the
after the
View.
game that he.
This is very conspiracy theory.
It is very, but
Jay
if you
loves
think
this
about
stuff.
it,
He's all into it.
But listen,
He's like,
He's like, I'm in.
if you think about how this
Let's
lined
do some
out,
digging.
if you think about how this lined out, and
This
then
is
you
great,
continue to have
Drama.
this approach from Brown about all like this stuff and keep baiting it on and doing this, that kind of aligns itself. And it may not have happened that exact way, but that would fit if you really looked at it and how everything lined up. That literally could have been the week, because then it was they got into the playoffs, whatever, sweep it under the rug, and then Brady retires immediately, and all of the stuff that kind of like threw everything into a spiral. Team, obviously, it's not a team you're going to support or believe in the playoffs. Someone's probably going to end up going there and playing there because they're probably going to win their division and get a home game.
Yeah, it's going to be Dallas.
Would you rather play the Bucs or the Panthers?
You don't want to
play. I know. You don't want to play them. Because I know where I'm flying.
Yeah. We're going to lose to the Bucs.
Yeah.
We're not losing to the Bucs.
6-9, and we're going to lose to the Bucs.
They're going to go 6-9, the Bucs?
They're going to go.
What are they right now?
I'm thinking 9 and 6. Yeah, they're terrible. It's embarrassing.
They're going to have a losing record, get a home game.
I hope they fix this after this year. They got to do something about this.
Because there's still those games where you watch where they got utterly destroyed by what was the team they just came back on? Who was that team? Just 2 weeks ago when Tampa Bay was
the Saints. They're down.
They literally could lose. The Bucs could lose every effing game next.
The Saints literally dominated that game for like
Panthers,
52 minutes.
They could lose all those.
And they lost. That's the kind of stuff that would happen.
Right.
That's what would happen to the Cowboys. Cowboys would get by 2 touchdowns, and then Brady will come back and win it in the last minute.
I mean, it's not immobile. They should have beat him week 1. Well, Dallas should have beat him week 1. The offense was terrible. I know.
You're kind of almost win. Like he kind of almost lost.
No, I'm just saying, but it's not like I was impressed by the Bucs at anything. It's just bad luck.
You know, the thing is, though, it's one of those situations where this is taking a team that probably deserves to go to the playoffs to not make the playoffs. And this team is going to be and host a game. And whenever Brady is in a moment like that, you always worry about that. Is there that little bit of magic? Does he pull up? Does he show up for that game? Does it happen? You might see something weird in the playoffs. And if Brady goes out and he wins a playoff game this season with a team like that has that type of record and wins in the first round, and it is against the Cowboys or something.
It is.
People are going to go crazy again.
I was holding out hope because that game that the Saints were dominating, if they win that game, they're only 1 game out of first, the Saints. And then all of a sudden,
you thought you had a chance to.
All of a sudden, yes.
Saints pick to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The outdoor chance.
To be the playoffs.
You and Hoodie both. Give me my money.
4-9. 4-9 the Saints, and you still have a chance.
But they would have been.
It's just asinine.
And they would have been 5-8.
It's so bad.
And they would have been 1 game behind the Bucs for the lead. And they would have owned it because they had the tiebreaker. So it would have been great.
Well, they lost to because they had a bye week. They lost to the Bucs last week. So right.
They all suck.
So they lost twice to the Bucs. So they don't even have the tiebreakers already. Tampa Bay.
Oh, they lost both times.
Brock Purdy.
They lost to the Bucs 20-10, and then they lost.
I don't know if
16-7.
I don't know if we want to give the success of Brock Purdy to Brock Purdy.
I gotta find.
Or if we're giving it to the San Francisco coaching staff.
Brian Greasy.
Because every single quarterback in that offense has just been able to make things happen.
Apparently, from what I've heard, is that Shanahan personally went out after they drafted Brock Purdy with the last pick of the draft, Mr. Irrelevant. He went out and pulled Brian Greasy from the broadcast booth and said, I have a project for you. And Greasy was thinking he was going to be working with Trey Lance, but it was actually Brock Purdy. Because from what I'm hearing is that Greasy is very good at like getting you game ready. Like they said that he just commanded the huddle better than all these other quarterbacks you've seen out here. And his stats weren't great, but they said he did a great job commanding the huddle and telling players what they needed to do to be, successful. So they brought Greasy in to work with Purdy, and it's obviously paid off. He's played well.
Yeah, I mean he got his start, right?
Yeah,
gets his start, and
he
goes out. Week. They win. He had some. I thought he had a couple really nice throws. There was one to Christian McCaffrey on the left side that was really nice.
Yeah, I thought he played well.
We'll see.
But now Debo's hurt.
Yeah, let's before we crown him as the next coming.
Well, there's that meme I was trying to find about Brady. Like this year, Brady's lost to, he had a backup he lost to. Then he lost to an XFL player, and then he lost to Mr. Irrelevant this year. Like it's just crazy what's going on.
It is crazy, and that stat that we put up on the screen that Brock Purdy was the first quarterback going up against Brady in his first game to win. Mm-hmm. And you got to think that Brady's been around a long time, so he's played quite a few of those games where he's faced the first time a quarterback has started. And
The
a
thing-
lot of that was Belichick too, though. Let's be fair, because Belichick.
The only thing that matters for San Francisco is that defense. It does
100%.
not matter what that offense does. If they get you 17 points,
Yeah.
they're going to win 90% of their games. That defense is like the 85 Bears right now. You can't score on them. Look at the Niners' last 5 games and just pull up their last 5 games and see what they've done on defense.
They gave 6. The Rams, they gave up 14. Chargers 16. Cardinals 10. Saints, they shut out.
Oh, all good teams.
Miami 7. Bucks 7.
I mean,
That's pretty good
you know,
quarterbacks
playoff.
there. Well, I mean, you're still beating
The Bucks,
But it doesn't
Miami?
matter. It's
Miami's a
NFL
playoff.
teams.
So,
Chargers.
It's NFL teams
Chargers
that
are out of
they're
the way.
played
That's
against,
about it.
and they're keeping
The
them
Rams
under
aren't.
17 points. That's
Cardinals
pretty
aren't.
impressive.
Saints aren't.
That team is very good. I think we all knew that team was very good to start the season. I don't
lost
think
Debo for a
um,
while. Thank God
the
it's not
loss
for
of
the year.
Debo is going to be big for them, but they do have that next man up mentality there.
All they're
And
going
they
to do
have
is
some of
they'll
those
slide
guys.
Christian McCaffrey into the Debo spot. They'll put one of their 17 running backs that they play every single week in that running back.
Well, and
it'll
they
be
got
just fine.
Gray will probably see a little bit more, I would guess.
It'd be Juwan
Right?
Jennings.
Jennings probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Jennings will get
Jennings.
Or Jennings will see.
Jennings will probably go from 3 to 2.
Yeah.
They got to
So,
stop running
they've
the
got
ball
some
with their
guys
running
that
our
move
wide
around
receiver.
now.
Stop.
Yeah.
Would you stop doing that?
Well,
It's just
Debo's not-
asinine. You're up freaking 28-7, and you're running some wide receiver draw or some
Well,
shit.
you got
It's
switched like a
stupid.
pretzel, though.
Yeah, but it's
Three
just
guys
dumb. Why
switched
even
to
do that?
different plays.
You don't need to then.
Well, it's the problem is he's so. All these guys are so small compared to these guys that are
Yeah.
hitting them.
Ridiculous.
Like Debo, Tyreek, like all it takes is them just to pull you one way. Like you're gonna snap. They're so big.
You
you're
even
so
saw it with
little.
Tyler Huntley yesterday in the Ravens. There was twice in the game where he was being wrapped at the knees and got hit up top, and it bent him backwards. And the first time you could tell it kind of bothered him. The second time it took him out of the game. Like he got bowled over. You saw Mike
Quarterbacks
White
are dropping this
just
year, aren't they?
absolutely getting destroyed
Everybody.
yesterday by the Bills.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
You
like-
know, and you've got some of those injuries.
I
Is
think the only
because
quarterback that's like resilient is like Daniel Jones. He just
Oh, they were going to
plays.
say Jalen
Yeah.
Hurts and put the jinx on.
Yeah.
I thought that's what it was.
Damn it. I thought you were gonna do it.
they were waiting for you to put the jinx.
Man, I was
on.
really. I was on. Please say
I
it.
did it on Daniel
I thought you were going to go to Jalen Hurts there.
Well, talk about
He's
about quarterbacks
unbreakable.
that getting back on the field. Bengals went out, beat the Browns yesterday.
Oh, good. I'm glad we're talking
And,
about the Bengals. Go
and I don't want to talk about the Bengals as much as I want to talk about this tweet that I found. When no one else can legally massage you.
That was pretty good. Whoever did
That's
that.
that Megan makes money from Vegas.
Yeah.
Because the sports page.
The
Yeah.
sports. That was
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
That was her initial tweet.
That
Like
was
she
her
didn't
tweet.
steal it from.
He's rubbing the
Well
back of
done.
his leg and his
Well
calf.
done.
The
That's
trainer
excellent.
came over to
Excellent
He's
job.
like, I want to be part of this, man.
Because there wasn't much
I don't
from
wanna
that
lead 'em
game
on.
to talk about, but that was incredible.
Yeah.
Great tweet.
And I loved it, and I saw it, and I had to
Yeah.
include it today because it's too good. And again, I love chaos. I love storylines that you can't make. I love when we get to talk crap about the Broncos, and when we get to do that stuff, it's always a good time for me. Like the fact that the Broncos are now eliminated from playoff contention.
He got that hit.
He was like,
Yeah, you could tell
was like staring off
in
into
a
the
different
sky.
Yeah,
dimension.
you
That's
didn't know where he
terrifying.
was for a
Yeah.
minute. It
well,
didn't look like
eight
that hard of a
people.
hit
Well,
at
8 people
first.
started doing this. The whole.
Yeah. It didn't look like that hard of a hit at first. Like it looked like he hit his
Yeah.
head, kind of like
Yeah.
rubbed it against the grass. But then when you saw his face, you knew it rattled him. But I'll tell you, watching that game, I couldn't believe what Denver was doing because they were ahead, dude. They were killing them. There was like 27 to nothing,
yeah.
and it's like this game's over. And then all of a sudden, it's like Denver puts a drive together. And it's like Denver gets a turnover and they score again, and then it's like. And Denver scores right off the end of this the halftime show, and all of a sudden it was a game, and I was like, dude, they're coming back. That might have been the worst backdoor cover ever. If you take the Chiefs, because they were -9 yesterday, and you're up 27 to nothing, and you're like, this game's over. And then all of a sudden, here comes the Broncos chipping away, and guess what happens? The Broncos end up covering. After being down 27 to nothing, the Chiefs did not cover, and I was like, wow.
Well, I mean, again, in the NFL, we know that when you start to play soft, sit back and let them throw those throws underneath, teams will move down the field and they'll score at least once or twice. And sometimes that's the things
That's
that
why those
happens
big
and that-
spreads in the NFL, are so hard to cover.
Who the hell was taking Dallas minus 17 yesterday?
That's what I told everybody at the airport.
Like,
we're sitting there watching. I go, there's no way this is correct, right? Is it 17
points?
And they're like 17 points for the Texans. I'm like, last week they barely, like, yes, they had 2 late scores, like, but that's everybody's Super Bowl. They want to beat the Cowboys.
They could have been up by 3 touchdowns and then just been like, hey, we're going to put our backups in. Like, here's Cooper Rush and Blake Davis and some backup. We don't want to get any injuries. And then Texas need to score 1 touchdown and you cover. It's like that. I mean, when I saw that line, I was like, you got to be kidding. Like, who's taking Dallas minus 17? Seriously.
You get the money coming in.
It's about 60% of America.
Holmes had 3 interceptions yesterday. Oh, man, Hurts is really going to win.
Yeah, and that's
speaking of the Bengals really fast, because I got something I got to rant about for just a second.
Oh, please.
The T. Higgins thing.
What the hell is that?
I'm utterly pissed about that.
What is that shit?
I started this mother effer in 3 leagues.
Yeah, 2.
Let me tell you what happened. T. Higgins is cleared, right? No injury status. He aggravated his hamstring in warm-ups, and instead of ruling him out, even though they had time, Zach Taylor didn't rule him out because he said, we're going to just see how it goes. Then the game started and he decided not to play him. So if you know you're going to do that, why not just rule him out? Just rule him out. People have done it before where you get injured in warm-ups and they say, this guy's been ruled out. But instead, he knew he was injured, didn't tell anybody. Zach Taylor, I'm talking about the coach. Mm-hmm. Zach Taylor didn't tell anybody he was injured. So then all of a sudden the game starts. Higgins never comes out. He just is on the sideline. So we're like, okay, what the hell's going on? Come to find out after the game that he had his hamstring injury flare up and he did something to it in warm-ups. And that's why he sat. But he had plenty of time to
When did you notice it? Like, what quarter did you notice that he wasn't in?
The game had started and he wasn't in. And I'm looking at it and I'm not
watching
I didn't notice
it until the second quarter.
I was like, T. Higgins has 0 targets? I was like, this is weird. Like, how does he have 0 targets? And I'm watching. Halftime 0. Third quarter 0. I was like, something's going on. So then I had to go back and look at the stories.
Yeah, I knew as soon as that guy named Irwin caught a touchdown.
Yeah.
I'm like,
fuck is Irwin?
I look around, I asked Colton, he was sitting next to me, I go, who's Irwin?
The white guy.
He goes, Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter? I said, I guess so, because he just got a touchdown in the Bengals game.
Yeah, so he hurt himself in pregame warm-ups.
Yeah, I read the whole thing. I just didn't see it till like halfway, almost the second half, because we had the red zone on here, so that's all we're seeing. And I'm like looking at my fantasy, and I'm like, Higgins has 0. Oh, that's interesting.
Not a fan of Zach Taylor anymore.
Yeah, it didn't even say next to his name out or
this
nothing.
This is how you get the fantasy expert to be pissed at you for life.
Yeah,
you don't rule somebody.
You got one job.
You're dead.
You just tell us if the dude's hurt. Say, hey, he's hurt. So at least I can go and fix my lineup. Don't just leave everybody hanging.
Did you lose the game because of this?
I got 0 points, and one of them out of the 3 I did lose.
There it is.
One of the 3 I did lose. You gave me a goose egg.
And there it is.
And that's why he's so upset.
It sucks. The goose egg.
Playoff time.
It's playoff. Yeah, this is the last week.
I mean, obviously, it was a big week in fantasy, and things like that can be frustrating. Zach Taylor did that almost the exact same thing in a way the week before, where they talked all the way up till right before coming out for pregame that Joe Mixon may actually play, and then Joe Mixon goes out dressed but not in pads, runs around for a little bit, comes back off the field, and then they ruled him out and they took him off.
They didn't do that with Higgins. They just,
they didnn't take Higgins off, but they did.
They knew he was injured, and they had time because the warm-ups are an hour and a half before the game. So all he had to do was come out and be like, hey, he re-aggravated something. He's going to sit today. So at least people know, right? But instead he doesn't say anything and then chooses not to play him. So like he knew he was injured, knew he was going to play him, but he played him, but he didn't say anything. I don't know.
Now, is it safe to say the NFL is just easy for a quarterback to play? It has to be. It has to be. Because Baker Mayfield on Thursday, because we got to talk about that, goes out, doesn't take any snaps in practice, right? Gets the playbook, goes out, commands the offense, actually plays pretty well. There was a weird scenario we were talking about off where John Wolford started the game and ran like 3 running plays, and I was kind of looking all over like, why did they even do that? Why did they even have him take a snap?
They pulled him out, put Baker in. I was like, what was the point of that? Like, are they punishing Baker and be like, hey, you're not going to start the game, but you're going to come in right away? Like, I don't get it.
Kind of looking at it, I was telling Jay that I kind of went back and looked at it, and it looked like maybe he audibled out of 2 plays to start the game, and he audibled into running plays.
Or maybe Baker was on page 72 of the playbook, and he had 3 more pages to
Just to
finish up. And
finish.
they're like, "Hey, finish the last 3 pages. Let me know when you're ready to go." And then it's like, boom, right into the game.
It's just so like, oh my god! If you actually watch the game, like he was bad. Like he was bad for 3 quarters. Baker. For 3 quarters, they were losing 16-3 in the 4th quarter. The Raiders are getting the ball back. They're punting. It's 4th down and 3. The Raiders are getting the ball punted back to them with less than 6 minutes to go in the game. Up 16-3. He jumps off sides. Guess what? Now we have a Baker Mayfield story. First off, if that guy does not jump off sides, the Raiders win the game 16-3. Everybody's looking at Baker like he's a bum. It's like, what the hell just happened here?
That Josh Jacobs is playing with a hurt right hand.
They're running him into the ground, right?
And he's still out there, and he's carrying the ball.
It's just
you see how
such
bad
a Raider thing
Derek Carr was?
His
QBR was 36%. 36.9. He didn't throw 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 137 yards. Derek Carr is just... You know who should be MVP? Devontae Adams.
You did lose money on that game?
Yeah, I did lose. Now that I remember,
you sound a little fired up.
Well, no, I had over passing yards for Derek Carr.
But it was complete. Yards. Well, it was a complete opposite from the week before.
220.
Now I know why Devontae Adams should have been.
Devontae Adams should be MVP.
It was the complete.
If he's not on the game, they don't
do anything. Before, where he chucked it up to Devontae, and I'm going to tell you now, I watched the whole game. Devontae Adams was open 3/4 of the time during the game.
Yeah.
He was
open.
open.
You would have thrown it to him.
He didn't throw it to him.
7 targets
this year?
Yeah. I bet a couple quarterbacks. I bet Mahomes.
I love that he just
I bet 4 quarterbacks.
But not the one that's actually going to win it?
No, I got Mahomes, Josh. No,
So
I didn't. I would never
Hurts.
bet. I should have bet for
So you bet 2 heavy favorites that aren't going to win, and then you
then I bet.
underdog.
No, I got to go back and look. I can't
What you might want to do is count up those bets right now and go put that amount of money at least on Jalen Hurts, so you can
break
that.
even.
Minus.
You buy insurance on the Derek
No,
Carr
it's
too
too
much.
much.
You might want to go hedge that back.
Derek Carr is absolutely trash.
Well,
now, if you could
speaking
get the ball to
of
Mark
that,
Cooper, now I know
it's time for Jay's Fantasy Roundup. Jay's going to tell us a little bit about fantasy and preface with the fact that he commissioned our league and our playoffs were this week. Thank you.
Yeah, and,
we appreciate that. Thank you for playoffs.
Good job, Jay.
Well, I didn't help myself. I lost.
Let's just say it this
won.
way. Your fantasy league with us is ending for me like it started.
A big debacle. This is a league that
if we're doing this next year,
5 minutes before they changed the draft order because our commissioner,
that's not his fault.
Our commissioner or Yahoo?
whoever decided to use Yahoo,
Who is
we're all
the
big
commissioner,
boys. We
by
could
the
have played a different league.
But you couldn't pay for it after a certain time. We did it the last day.
Unbelievable. Yes, it was a piss poor performance by the commissioner.
So
and now we started the playoffs, which Dave just lost because of it.
No, I won.
No, Dave beat
Dave
you.
won, you won. I lost, Jay lost.
It's me.
I didn't
you,
even
and
draft
Matt.
my team. I
I was
boycotted
a
it.
higher seed. You drafted your team.
I
You
boycotted
drafted
my
my
team
team.
the whole
Stop.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah, not the
Bob's
whole
the
time.
one who
Because,
mistakes.
guys,
I don't give a shit.
really quick, do not let Jimmy give you the bullshit. 2
He's
o'clock
been
in the
picking up,
morning,
yeah.
notification.
Yeah.
The Godfather
I started
ads are
playing.
dropped.
I did start playing about 3 weeks ago. I'm like, shoot. I
3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I got
it
a
was more
real
than
chance.
that.
Well, I said I
Way
got a
more
real
than
chance here.
10 years
I'm looking at it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to start playing this league. Yeah, and I added a few guys.
It was also my fault that they used his waiver wire on some.
Oh, that was a
player
bogus
that we
ass
won.
rule too. That's
It's to say the least, it's been interesting. But
This is a league for all the listeners out there. This is a league, by the way, that only half the league is paid.
Yeah.
In 2
Yeah.
weeks, we're all either
I've
getting
collected-
a refund.
yeah.
I'm not going to be the only.
everybody
schmuck that
in this
pays.
room has paid.
Right.
Yes.
Everybody in this room
I'm
is
not going to
paid.
be the only schmuck that pays.
So,
and then all of a sudden,
that's all that matters.
Either we do a refund or everyone pays.
Refund.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
A
you
refund
know,
or
lost
everyone
today.
pays.
let's just. I'm going to tell
just
you now.
lost
I'm
today.
leaning on the side with Jay right now.
Of course, the 2 losers want the refund. Us winners are like, no, we're good.
Well,
Let's
I'd
go.
have been just as mad if I had won and I was trying to get the championship, and then I'm like, "Hey, Dave, what's the payout?" He's like, $200.
No, Dave
You guys
will,
have to leave-
Dave will collect. Don't let him fool you. Don't make you pay the.
All right, let's roll through the fantasy really quick. Waivers is kind of scarce out there. I told you about Jameson Williams last week and pick him up and stash him. You might be able to play him in your flex spot now. Also, DJ Chark. So you got 2 wide receivers from Detroit. The injury bug has hit Deebo Samuel. Be on the lookout for Russell Wilson with a concussion, Kenny Pickett with a concussion, and Tyler Huntley with a concussion. So this may be a chance. We talked about playoffs starting earlier, right? So all you guys that have your playoffs next week, you might be playing with a streaming quarterback because of all the quarterback injuries going on right now. Obviously, T. Higgins is day-to-day or week-to-week. We don't know because Zach Taylor won't tell us. Tyler Boyd also hurt on the Bengals. So now you're going to see what kind of depth they have at wide receiver because I don't even know if Jamar Chase is at 100%. And now you have 2 other receivers who could be out. And also DJ Moore twisted his ankle in that game, so he's going to be week-to-week. That's another stud that you might be playing in the playoffs. Basketball. We haven't talked much about basketball, but with that Cade Cunningham news, Killian Hayes is the guy you want to go pick up right now. He's the one that's going to get all the burn. He's only owned in 25% of leagues, which I was kind of shocked about. He's not scoring much, like Dave and I talked about this off air, but he kills with steals, right, and assists. Mm-hmm. So he's the guy you want to go get, point guard.
Only for a lot of points, but you get a lot of assists, steals. Phillips and categories.
Well, and now there's going to be minutes, though. And what we saw happen with Desmond Bane last year was when Desmond Bane got minutes, then all of a sudden it went from 16 points a game, 15 points a game to 21, 22 points a game, which is a big difference. So, speaking of basketball,
roll with it.
We kind of are at that point where power rankings are starting to become a thing. Mm-hmm. So I've got the power rankings for you guys. And at number 5 is the Cleveland Cavaliers at 17-10. Okay. Donovan Mitchell coming in has really kind of lifted that team up to give them some depth, right?
Funny story real quick.
Yes.
So we were at the card show this last weekend in Del Mar. So I always tell the guys, hey, be on the lookout for these cards. If you find some of these cards, buy these cards. So going in, I tell Hoodie, I say, hey, pick up, if you see any Donovan Mitchell at all, he's on fire right now. Pick up all the Donovan Mitchell you can find. He's like, all right, I got it, Donovan Mitchell. So I'm sitting there, I'm eating my brisket late at night. He comes walking up, he's like, hey, boss, I did you well, look. Hands me a card. I look at him like, who's this? He goes, Darrington Mitchell. And I'm like, who? I go, I don't know who this guy is. He goes, that's who you told me to buy. I said, no, Donovan Mitchell.
Picked up Damian.
Damian. The guy from the Kings.
From Baylor. From Baylor got
drafted
by the Kings.
Oh my God. I go, we're going after the guys that are going to win MVPs.
No, it's a raw card.
Not this guy who I've never heard of. And he was, oh man, you're right.
Damian Mitchell's pretty good, but it ain't close.
Yeah. Wow. So Donovan Mitchell, and they've been doing some things with that team where they're getting minutes with guys that are like each other at the same time, and it's kind of messing with teams, so it's giving them a chance to win some games that may not. Last year, they definitely weren't going to be able to pull out. At number 4 is the Grizzlies. Grizzlies are 17-9. This is just kind of recreating the wheel for them. They started off the exact same way. Mm-hmm. They started off piss poor defensively at the beginning of the year. They've kind of stepped it up. And now you're starting to see that team actually play defense. And then on top of it, they can score in bunches. They've got 2 or 3 guys, not just your couple of big names. They got a couple guys off the bench that can put up, 10, 12, 14 points a night that are really like putting it together. And that, again, in the Western Conference, that's going to be a type of team that can take you, deep into the playoffs. I suspect we'll see them, pretty heavy here throughout the year. And by the end of the season, if they're not one in the West, I would be surprised. Obviously, Golden State can make a run at any point. But at this point, Golden State's not even in the top 5 here. In fact, Golden State, I don't even believe is in the top 10. Wow. Let's see. I just wanted to double check that. I don't believe they're in the top 10. Yeah, no, they are. They're 11th. Portland is number 10 right now. So that team, I think they still make moves in the West, and I think that they're a team that we could be 3-4 weeks from now, we could be talking about them running off a 12-2 or something like that. They're pretty good. Number 3, Milwaukee Bucks, and I don't think that should surprise anybody. Giannis is Giannis, and just everyone around him is better. He is truly a superstar. He is one of those guys that just absolutely makes everyone else around him better. Number 2 is this team.
Oh, no. Get it done. And on the spin and the reverse, the slam by Zion.
That was awesome.
So instead of dribbling it out, Zion goes, throws the 360 dunk down. Of course, the Suns were pissed. And And they might rightfully be so, but you have to understand the Suns are currently the most hated team in basketball.
But do you heard why Zion did that?
Mm-hmm.
You're right. So I guess last year when they eliminated the Pelicans, the way they kind of did it was a little dicey. They like basically waving to fans, and it was on New Orleans home court, and Zion basically said like I know how bad my brothers were hurting, because he's like, I was there, I wasn't playing, but I was there, and the way they kind of treated us, like to like basically kick us out the door of our own arena, he's like, that didn't sit well with us, and so he did that. It's like kind of like, hey, we're good too now. Like I'm back and we're good too. So.
Oh, it was awesome.
Well, I thought it was good too. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Especially need more rivalries.
I want to
in the
see
NBA.
more of that.
Need more
Make
rivalries.
them an instant rivalry.
Because they're basically the best record in the West is
No,
the
and
Pelicans are the best record in the West.
Yes.
That's
And
hard to do.
CJ McCollum has been on fire. What a great pickup for them last year that was. Adding Zion to the mix has even made things easier for him to be able to find open spots and whatever. And Zion's been going off. He's been putting up around 30-plus points a game the last like 5, 6, 7 games. It's been absolutely crazy. They're doing this while they have starters hurt. CJ McCollum missed some games. They had a couple other starters miss some games. And they've been able to just put those pieces in. What we're seeing is Zion Williamson is everything that we thought he was going to be when we started talking about him coming out in the draft and everything.
I remember how his cars were going down, and everyone was saying like, now is the time to buy him because they're not going to be this low again.
Yeah.
We claimed it in the offseason. We said, if you're buying Zion, you better buy him now, because once he starts playing, the writing was on the wall. They had a very good playoff team without him. You now add a superstar to that playoff team.
Yep.
Look at what he's doing. They're going to be a good team for a long time.
And you have to remember that Zion signed an extension prior to this season to stay with this team, and the team, it was a little team friendly, which allowed them to be able to make some of these additional moves and do some things. They're not done either, so even if this isn't their year, they're not done yet.
Right.
They've still got room to be able to do some stuff. That's going to be a fun team to watch for a while, and to see them in first place in the West right now, I think is really fun. Do I think they can stay there? At the end of the day, I think that the Ja Morant-led Grizzlies is probably just a little more savvy of a team. But it's going to come down to the Grizzlies' defense and, how well they actually play defense, because that's their big knock, right? Whether they actually show up.
The Pelicans beat the Suns Friday, then played them again this Sunday.
Yeah.
Beat them again in overtime. So that's a huge statement.
It's a monstrous statement. And then number one overall is the Boston Celtics. The Celtics are 21-6, and they have been just a machine.
The Knicks must be 6.
And
because I didn't hear them talk.
No, they're not. And we're talking about this Celtics team. We're talking.
You have it pulled up.
What's that? Let me see what it.
They're nowhere in the top 10. They have the best player on the planet, and they still can't make
13-13. That's why.
Yeah.
It's a one-man show.
Let's see where they're at.
Yeah. Well,
I watched them play the
They need a.
Because we got rid of the stud Jalen Brunson.
They need to get rid of him.
Because
Villanova kid?
Free agent. Yeah. Didn't he sign
They are
free agent?
15th. They're dead center of the.
Right there,
dead
middle of the
center
road.
the league.
Where are the Knicks?
13-13. Knicks are not there. That's for sure. Knicks are 16th. So 15th is Dallas. And 16th is the
We're
Knicks.
both fighting for the kid
I
from
love
France,
it.
baby.
Hey, just like in the NFL, the Giants are right behind the Cowboys.
I love it. You guys are funny. But Boston again. They had a coaching change this year. Right?
Oh my God.
They had a coaching change this year. They have all these things that happen, and here they are standing up again.
Yes.
This year, though, they definitely stand out as kind of like the class for sure. They are definitely the class of the East. I think we'll end up seeing a Giannis versus Boston scenario that will really make this some fun playoff, but. That's where we're at right now, so just kind of talking about basketball and getting that going. And with that said, we're going to move into plus or minus, and it's on the guy
Basketball
that we're already talking about.
Let's go.
Which is Zion Williamson. We talked about Zion and Jimmy. We in the offseason said buy Zion, buy Zion, buy Zion. Guys, if you didn't listen to us tell you to buy Zion, go buy Zion now. You still have time. Because his prices are still incredibly down compared to Ja Morant's.
Are they really?
They're still down compared to Ja
It's
Morant's.
just a lot of people get Zion cards graded, so the
population is
yeah.
high.
So people are always worried about I don't know, this whole population thing with cards now is.
Well, the big thing, again, like we told you, check the pop counts.
Yeah.
More importantly, I would tell you, buy the numbered cards. Get yourself out, buy yourself at least one nice Zion auto graded. A card like this Mosaic Scripts, I put this up here. It's a 10/10. It sold for $960. Like, to me, that's a very good $1,000 investment. You should see a good return on that over time. And if they continue this, because of the buzz and the league wants it, you will hear Zion being mentioned for MVP. Mm-hmm. And once that happens, his stuff will go through the roof. And you may not actually see it come back. And there's a big difference between Zion being talked about for MVP and John Morant being talked about for MVP.
Well, they want him to be the face of the NBA.
They
want
Zion.
Ja? They want Zion.
Oh, of course Zion.
And Ja is reckless, a little smaller, and can get hurt. Zion can dominate you, overpower you, and we know he got hurt, but his injury was a little odd of an injury for a basketball player, right? It happens, but to the extent that it was.
Yeah.
So now
he's got to keep
looks
his weight
like
down.
he's healthy, and he came in incredible shape.
Oh, he does.
He's been ready to roll. He looks great.
Yeah.
And now he's really getting after it. I just I think that you still have some room, although you're not buying them at the level that you were. And then Brock Purdy, we talked about Brock Purdy last week. He's not in a lot of product, okay? He's in select draft picks. He's in black. He's in Chronicles. He signs in the select draft picks in the Chronicles, or in the black. The Brock Purdy stuff, though, right now, guys, is that because there's not much out there, this stuff is going to be selling a little high. So I don't think it's a time to buy his stuff. But the next products that come out that have him signing in it in NFL jerseys, like black, you're going to want to grab that stuff early. Try to get it. And if he makes a playoff run and he's that playoff darling, you're going to be well invested to be able to sell it going into, let's say, an NFC Championship game or something like that. So the next couple of releases of NFL product is going to be really big on whether the checklist has autographs for Brock Purdy or not.
Well, San Fran sells well, so it's like he's in a good market and they're making the playoffs. There's no question about that. And Garoppolo's out for the year, so as long as Purdy can stay healthy, which I know right now he's a little bit banged up.
Garoppolo's out for the year, or are they going to try to get him back?
Well, they say they don't think he's completely out for the year. He can't come back because it wasn't a Liz Frank. But that's a pretty tough task to expect him to come back.
I hear like so many different things about the Garoppolo
all of a sudden,
situation.
Come back. If Brock Purdy goes and he wins your first playoff game, you're probably starting Brock Purdy again, even if Garoppolo is ready to go that week. Mm-hmm. I would think they would want him to be ready to go a couple of weeks before they actually do it. And it could be one of those scenarios where you think of it, and this could be the auto reverse of the Bledsoe-Brady scenario, where Bledsoe was hurt, Brady got to play, Bledsoe came back, was healthy, they put Bledsoe back on the field, and then they infused Brady back onto the field.
One day ago it says the playoffs are reportedly not realistic for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, okay.
He's out at least.
So then it's done then.
He's out at least 3 months.
The coolest thing about that was seeing his dad. Those shots
cool.
of his
that was
like
great.
we're all dads except for Uncle Dave.
Yeah.
But that's one of the coolest things you get to see as a father, to see your son go out there on the biggest stage and to throw a couple touchdown passes and win a game. That's pretty cool.
He's looked good. Like when he came in for the injured Garoppolo, he looked good. Even though it was a short time. And then he got the start, and he looked good.
Well, if you remember during the draft when he was Mr. Irrelevant and they were talking about him, because he was the last pick in the draft, they spent a couple extra minutes talking about him.
Yeah.
And, the one thing they kept talking about, super smart kid, really invested into the playbook, someone that really can command an offense. And you know what? When you got a great coaching staff like the 49ers do, you're going to be able to coach up your quarterback to make the plays that you need to. And for the most part, I think that they're going to call a game plan that he's going to be able to manage and maneuver.
Well, you can read the tea leaves sometimes, too, because usually NFL teams don't carry 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And the fact that they knew they had retained Jimmy Garoppolo and they knew that Trey Lance was healthy coming into the year and it was going to be his team, the fact that they kept Purdy around and even drafted him and kept him around, that shows you that they liked the kid. It wasn't just like, let's just take this kid just to get another quarterback. They obviously liked him. They didn't just take him just for the hell of it. So, not very many teams carry 3 quarterbacks. And then it just so happens that Lance...
Usually they put him on the practice squad or something.
Yeah, but
another
they.
quarterback.
But if they would have had a.
Right, but if they leave him on the roster, it actually takes up a roster spot.
Yeah, because if you put him on a practice squad, anybody can scoop him out.
Right. That's what they didn't want anybody to take him.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So that's how you can tell. You read the tea leaves and that kind of stuff, and you maybe not hear anybody talk about Purdy, but when you see stuff like that, you know that they obviously like the kid.
Now, obviously,
They like
the
going big
discussion in
bullets.
the hobby becomes immediately everybody's like, "Oh, well, Trey Lance has got to go. Brock Purdy's going to stay." It's like, slow down, guys.
No.
Slow down. Trey Lance will start next year when he comes back and is healthy, right? So, if anything, you want to use this as an opportunity to buy Trey Lance, go ahead. Like,
I love quarterback controversies too, because if
You
that
know I
happens-
do.
Yeah, if that happens and Purdy does win, like say a playoff game or whatever, and then it comes back and you know they're going to go to Lance. The minute that Lance starts to struggle, those San Francisco fans are going to be calling for Purdy,
Well, it'll be
which is great.
It'd be the
Every
exact
analyst
same
too.
thing that happened to start the year for him this year.
It's the same thing that happened like with the Steelers. I know we talked about that with Trubisky starting. Like
Yeah.
Trubisky was the smart way to go. You put the veteran in there, but the second that Trubisky started to look like crap, all
The
those
fans.
Steelers fans are like, "We want Pickett. We took him the first round. We want Pickett." And that's the exact way it's gonna be. Like that's the way the NFL works. They don't want to lose, even though Pickett comes in and he's not lighting the world on fire. I mean, he's okay. He's not great.
He's
okay.
played well the last 3 weeks.
But
He
then it
just
was
got
great because
hurt.
then you see Trubisky comes back in and shits the bed again and throws
Yeah.
a pick, and it's like, well, there you go. That's what you
Well,
get out of
and,
Trubisky.
and unfortunately, Kenny Pickett got hurt. And,
Yeah.
and
concussion, so he
protocol.
might miss another week.
How many teams are on their third string quarterback?
There's a lot. There's a
I'm
lot.
starting to think,
Yeah.
like, what's going on?
Atlanta's
The
finally
Ravens
finishing
are now,
theirs.
right?
Atlanta's finally realized that they're probably not going to make the playoffs, so they're making the
Well,
quarterback
they're
switch.
moving. So what I read is
Is
that
that
they're going to
I don't know. The
move.
South is
It
still
could
there.
not.
I don't know.
There might not be. a switch.
They're moving Mariota to the IR. It looks like is what
For
I read.
what? What's hurt? His
Apparently,
feelings?
maybe I don't know. I read something that said that they may be moving him to the IR. So maybe there was an injury that they hadn't really talked too deep about.
Ooh,
It's
that's
part of this
scary because
decision.
That's kind of scary because I don't even know who the backup to Ritter would be then.
Well, right now the QB3 on the roster was he's playing tight end.
Felipe Franks.
Felipe Franks.
Felipe Franks
He was
is
the
the
number
third string.
3 on the depth chart. So, but Desmond Ridder will start this next week coming out of their bye. So they gave him the bye week to get prepared. That's pretty standard of most
That's
most teams.
Logan Woodside. I think he went to like Toledo or
Oh,
some shit.
Grub.
Played at
Logan
Tennessee.
Woodside.
He played
Tennessee
at-
or
He was at
Toledo?
Tennessee
Toledo.
Titans and he did
Yeah.
terribly.
Yeah, he came out of Toledo.
Uh,
Dude, how did I know that?
Mario's got an injured knee.
Yeah.
Doesn't need surgery, but it's saying injury reserve is an option.
Man.
And I would guess that they're probably thinking that's the move.
Because the Ravens are on their third string quarterback too, right?
They are. Yeah.
Man.
Although Huntley, maybe he'll be back.
this is crazy.
Yeah, it's
What's
nuts.
going on here?
And the big name
Anthony
quarterbacks
Brown
that
had to
have gotten
come
hurt.
in. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Anthony Brown for
Yeah.
Oregon. Or
Yeah,
prior
I
to
know that.
Oregon, guy
Jeez,
barely
what's
saw
going on here?
snap at Oregon.
Now is the time to buy low on Anthony Brown.
Yeah, buy Anthony Brown.
Hey, he's gonna
Yeah.
have the
Anthony
next
Brown's
plus in
the
line
best.
is Anthony
Yeah.
Brown.
I know, right? He should be.
Geez, you could have trivia of like who's the
Yeah.
starting quarterback for this team.
You wouldn't even
right?
just-
And nobody knows.
No one knows.
Well, and
No
then
chance.
You could ask
and then
Panthers
even-
fans who's the starting quarterback, and they probably wouldn't even.
Why
know
don't you
who's
go?
the quarterback.
Well, according to me, it's Sam Bradford.
Yeah.
They got their first name
God.
right. I knew it was Sam who
I
started
know
the
the
last
Sam.
time.
I just couldn't
I
remember.
thought you had such a juicy
Listen,
ass story.
they're all
Yeah, dude, me and
they're
Jay
all
were
bummed.
so into it.
I
Like,
was like, holy
You guys
crap.
if you
Bye.
go back, if you go back and look, me and Jay
I
like, this is the greatest. With Sam Bradford, I thought he like.
I was trying to say
it was
Sam
so
Darnold. I
funny.
kept
Yeah,
saying
this is
Sam
the greatest
Bradford.
thing
Yeah, I
ever.
was hooked.
Yeah, you know, because I was like, this is gonna be a great story. And then
But
I was
yeah,
like, what the hell are you talking about?
so we have that to look forward to. So for the 22 product, what's great is that although Kenny Pickett is hurt, and that always, people get spooked whenever rookie quarterbacks get hurt, right? That kind of knocks it a little bit, but because Desmond Ridder is now going to be taking the field,
Right,
that helps a little bit. We know we're not going to see Sam Howell this year. I was kind of hoping we would. We're not going to see him.
We shouldn't see Malik Willis.
No, and well, I don't know that we'll see him again.
Ever.
Yeah, it's
too
going to be
soon,
tough, man.
It's too soon.
It's going to be tough with him.
too soon.
And the question's really going to be is whether they really are going to live and die by Tannehill after the season. I don't know if they are. They won't
He's
be drafting.
36.
They won't be drafting high enough to
get another quarterback.
take a quarterback that might be a game changer. There's still quarterbacks out there. I mean, they're saying that there's upwards of 9 that'll be drafted this year, maybe 10.
They said there could be 5 taken in the first 12 picks.
Yeah.
That's a lot of quarterbacks.
And the guy that I think
last year was really down on quarterbacks. That's why I was like, "There's no way
receivers.
there's 5." Yeah, and it was a year of the receiver, and you got one. You got one quarterback last year, and rightfully so, because the guys that went after Pickett were just like, it's okay. It's like it's a warm body.
Yeah, but this
No
year
Different
you have
story.
everybody
Looks like
you
it.
can think.
and there's
All
Williams
4
just won
quarterbacks are in the Heisman, right?
Williams just won the Heisman.
Yeah,
right?
just should have won. Yeah,
You know.
He's so good.
Stroud looked good.
I have him in my Debbie league, Caleb Williams. I'm
Young,
waiting on that bad boy.
I think Young is probably a lot of people are kind of thinking that Young, because of coaching he comes from, is probably gonna
He's
be someone who's gonna be a little ready for the NFL.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, Young and Stroud both scare me. Stroud because he comes from Ohio State and they never pan out, and Young is small.
And Will Levis has got every bit of the arm, every bit of the arm. That guy can flip the football. And we haven't even talked about Cameron Rising, who I personally like. So I mean,
you know what he's ranked? You know Cameron Rising's ranked in the draft?
Watch.
230.
Watch.
He's like the 12th quarterback right
He's
now.
not even projected to get drafted in the first 7 effing rounds.
He loves Mr. Irrelevant.
The only reason is contemporary. The only reason is what is it? Those picks.
The compensatory.
Yes,
the
thank you.
compensatory one.
That's the only reason why he has a chance to get drafted. Because
I don't know. I want to see
what say about Brock Purdy.
I want to see.
Look at him.
I want to see what I know.
Look at all these
at least Brock Purdy got drafted.
All these third stringers are starting right now.
Yeah, because people are getting injured.
Third
That's why.
stringers to the moon. I just want to see after the combine where this whole quarterback group ends up kind of looking.
Combine always ruins everything because he did the same thing with Zach Wilson.
I
He wasn't
know.
even projected to go high, and he makes one incredible throw. Don't get me wrong; it was like off his back foot, like 70 yards. But
you guys should do combine games here for the game day.
Yeah,
like the high jump and.
Did
the
you
long
see what
jump
happened
and the
sprint
40-yard dash.
when I tried to
Yeah,
run?
the 40-yard dash.
Yeah, you're recovered now.
Here's the thing, though.
You're walking fine.
I'm done.
I asked him today. I said,
A bunch
"How
of
far was that
over-the-hill
sprint, guys?"
athletes.
Real quick, if you don't know what we're talking about, if you go onto the
TikTok.
Game Day Sports Cards LV TikTok, you'll find that the Godfather raced Hoodie this last week, and it's pretty interesting. But I asked him, I said, "How far was that?" Because if Dave, you were there.
I wasn't there.
No,
I was off that day.
They
I came in
They
and
were
limping
running the
and
back
shit.
parking lot,
It was
like
a
the full length.
150-yard dash.
Yeah, I'm
The longest race
like,
ever.
who sprints that
A
far?
little backstory to it. So, I was talking trash to Hoodie. Hoodie was like, "Yeah, I used to play soccer." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." Like, I used to be an athlete. I'm definitely not one anymore after my performance over the weekend.
He's like, I used to wrestle. I can beat you in a race.
Yeah, I used to wrestle. Let's race. But so I'm
Who's
like,
beating him?
I go, dude, Hoodie, I'll smoke you. I'll smoke you so bad that I'll finish the last 10 yards going backwards. And he's like, bet, deal, bet. So I made it that long because I'm like, I have to get a good enough lead to where
be able to spin
I can
around.
spin around and go backwards the last 10 yards. Little did I know I was going to blow my hammy after the first 20 feet.
Did you not stretch at all?
No.
Like zero stretching.
And I'm
Why
in
would
my
you?
and I'm in
We're
my
way
Jordan
too-
1s and
We're
in
way too
jeans,
old for
like,
that, dude.
Way too
Jesus,
old.
I'm sitting there and
Nothing about it
When
sounds
I
good.
got the notification, right? When I got the notification, I clicked the video and it says, Godfather and Hoodie race. I just before I even looked at it, I'm like, this can't end well. Like it just can't. And look, I'm sitting here armchair quarterbacking that. So if I'm saying that it's probably not going to end well, in the moment, the people who thought it was going to end well, did you really think it was going to end well?
No.
No.
And once
You're
I got
taking
out
a lot
there,
of bets like that this year, where you're just
But it's just
firing
it's
it
just
out.
not it's just not. Hey, let's just like race from here to here. Let's say 30, 40 yards.
Yeah.
It's no. I gotta win. Plus, I gotta run backwards.
It's always something. There's
It's always we can't just have fun.
It's called
always
the
like that.
add-on. It's,
Yeah,
you know
it's
what it
always-
is? Game day bets are always an add-on.
And
It's
fantasy
always
is
like
crazy.
the Saints
The
are gonna
fantasy league's an add-on.
just like me.
Yeah, that was
you
just-
know. Yeah, exactly. The Saints are gonna win the Super Bowl, but only if and
Yeah.
it's always and that's us too. Like,
I like
let's
to
be
add a little
honest,
onto it,
we
but, like,
all do.
Because
Losing
there's-
the game,
there's-
he's not bad. Never gonna lose $200. Now he's got to spin a sign out on the street.
oh yeah.
No, Damien has to.
Yeah.
Well, it's either him or whoever
So
finishes last. We haven't figured it out yet.
That's what we have to talk about because Hoodie actually lost to Damien in the consolation bracket this weekend.
Not yet.
Well,
It depends
he has
on
a
the
chance
next
tonight,
game.
has
so
a
I think
chance.
we need to call and make an executive decision. Is this game tonight? Loser has to spin the sign. I think so.
I mean,
No, it's not. Well, yeah, because whoever
loser
finishes
of
dead last.
That'll finish dead last.
Well, you got to figure out how this works because if 7, 8 are in a bye, it looks like 10's going to beat 11, so 11's out. So then 12 beats. Yeah, so it'll be between.
So it's going to be between Hoodie and
Damian.
So this is so whoever wins this is dead last.
If Damian loses, it's 100% guaranteed he's last place. If Damian loses,
because I think Hoodie's thinking the same thing because he picked up Hunter Henry. Because
so
he didn't have Hunter Henry, he literally just picked him up.
So he's scrambling, trying to win it.
Look, he picked him up.
I love it. Yes,
Panic City.
Yeah.
Panic City. Oh yes.
He picked him up last night at 9:25.
Yeah.
So he's already.
So I personally think that where it's set up and it is like that close, that the game determination, the head-to-head, should be the determining factor.
There you go.
So
you're the commissioner. That's why we're asking.
You're the commissioner, and everybody in this room
I don't know
is
because Chad might have to because Chad lost. He's 11. Wouldn't he go to 12 then if he lost? Because if both of these lose, then Damian. Chad and
Damian would have to play.
Whoever loses this has to play Chad to see who spins the sign. How about that? Because he's going to lose. So it's going to be between Damian and Hoodie. Whoever loses that then have to play these two. I think that's how it works.
Because it'll put
them
together.
Hoodie spin the sign. So whatever we have to do to make Hoodie spin the sign.
Will Chad spin the sign?
No, Chad ain't spinning.
Yeah,
so that's why we have. That's why we have to get Damian Hoodie to get his spin. Yeah,
you got. It's got to be between one of these two.
So at this point, what you're doing at this point is that you're pulling for Hoodie to then win tonight?
No, lose tonight.
Lose tonight.
And then we can just tell him you lost to the 12th place in the consolation, and now you have to spin a sign.
Yes.
Yeah.
He'll do it. He'll put it on TikTok. He'll love it.
Okay. Yeah. So you are you're the deciding factor.
All right, so let's go.
Let's go. Sign it up. Done.
Signed up. So just in true Game Day League fashion, a rule was fashioned, determined, voted on without the entire group here, which is totally fine because we all don't care.
For the 7 people that paid.
We
Everybody
paid.
that paid is here.
We paid.
Yeah,
I don't think he paid. I don't
you don't
think
get a
he
vote
paid
if you
yet.
didn't pay.
Oh my
You don't
God.
get a vote if you didn't pay.
Oh my gosh. That's right. You don't
This is
get a
going to be
vote.
great.
Actually, he did pay.
Yeah, but listen, we already have a majority at
but
4.
his vote gets overruled.
But we already have a majority at
4-1.
4. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
4
out
of
of
the
7.
7 who paid have already majority voted. It's done.
Right.
Sorry.
All right.
And this is going to be a huge game.
Now we're all going to watch it.
I wasn't excited about the game because I didn't care about the 2 teams, but now I'm excited.
So now, okay, so just so everyone knows, so we've got
Last place.
Fourth place. Damian has defense, right?
Damian has Damian has James Conner.
Okay, he has James Conner.
So literally
they're tied.
It's 95.60 to 95.30.
So basically
it's
tied.
point 20. Yeah, it's basically tied. And Damian has James Conner, and Hoodie has Hunter Henry and Arizona's defense.
That game really scored some points. Like that.
Dude,
that
a pick six. A pick six could change everything.
It could.
I'm
He's
ready
projected to win
I'm
by.
ready to call Hoodie to tell him that
He's projected to win by like a point and a half.
You should call him on air.
Right now.
My phone's about to die.
We're going to be giving Hoodie a call here. We'll be on with you guys next week. We will see you guys then. Jay will not be here.
I will not be here next week. I'll be in county.
Jay will not be here, so Dave gets to take over the fantasy portion. Get your basketball fantasy ready.
You won anyways.
Oh, Jared, look at who's calling! Look at who's calling!
He must have been
listening.
listening.
He must have been listening.
Let's do it.
His ears are burning.
Yo.
Speaker.
What are you guys talking about?
I knew I told you. Yes, it comes down to tonight. You have tonight to win.
Spinner.
What do you mean?
You have to win tonight or you spin the sign.
It's between you and Damian in last place.
Correct.
Oh, no way.
In the consolation bracket,
guys
that's
are
what we're
playing each other,
saying.
yeah.
You versus Damian.
If I lose, I'm getting you canceled for making a disabled veteran.
Hey, we'll put you in the wheelchair out
We
there.
decide disabled veteran race somebody and then talk shit at the end of it. So I think spinning a sign is totally within your abilities.
And now I'm really disabled.
This is going to be great. Now it adds some excitement to the game tonight, Hoodie.
It does.
Yeah, because you picked up Hunter Henry for Will Distance. I figured, I was like, man, he's going on. At least he's trying. I like the effort.
I like it.
I had to figure out something.
Hey, good luck tonight.
Now you really got to figure out something.
Yeah.
All right, you heard it here.
Top of the waivers.
They're ready to roll.
All
right, guys. We will see you next week. Thank you guys for being here. Godfather's here. Godfather, take us out.
Peace. Let's go,
Let's go,
Monster Hunting.
Let's go.